Welcome to another edition of the Sports War. And we are back. We got the full crew in the house. That is what it's all about. The Yankees, out of any team in the league, are the best equipped to handle a blow like this.
I think there is a higher power at play here. He's due law of averages. That dude is the ultimate scrub. It's trash. Yeah. Every person you have in there is fucking trash.
Next game, you're going to see a big performance. You can see it in the end of the game, and I'm just totally stoked and excited for this.
Welcome back to another edition of the Sports Port, and today we have the Barnes and Tony Show once again, and we're coming to you here, live on Tuesday morning after the unfortunate events of last night's Monday Night Football game, as Bills safety Damar Hamlin collapsed on the field with a cardiac arrest event, and he is currently in critical condition at a Cincinnati hospital. Just one of those situations that is just so sad, and there's no blueprint on how to handle it. You're just not prepared for something of this magnitude. And obviously the important thing is that we all are saying prayers for him and his family and for his well-being. Just such a shocking and sad event. And really just tough to even think about.
Yeah, Brian. I mean, obviously, we're all hyped up. I mean, the amount of football that's been going on these past couple of weeks, the action, all of the playoff implications where, a lot of teams are in it, a lot of teams are in the hunt. This game, being a big one as well last night, you never really want to see or expect something like this to kind of hit the world, hit the country. Like I was saying, you're just kind of trying to, enjoy, one of America's most popular sports. It's entertainment for everybody. It gives people a reason to go home at night and watch something and enjoy themselves, And I think, you said it really well, where there really isn't, a blueprint on how to react to this necessarily, especially in today's age where, immediately, I mean, you go on Twitter last night and it's just all about, people talking about the game, how it was handled, what Goodell was doing, people who, like you and me, people, who are, talent from ESPN and hosts of shows and stuff like that. Everyone kind of showing their support, showing some ridicule of the NFL as well. You just have to kind of remember that this is, a young man's life right now, kind of in the balance, not even just his career, but it is, quite literally his life right now. You kind of have to put all those things aside, forget about the football, forget about, who's tweeting what and whatnot, and just kind of focus and kind of show this man's family some support here. I mean, it's a tremendous loss, totally unexpected, something you never really want to see, not even just, because he was a young athlete, but just for anyone involved in sports. And, you see some really horrific injuries, especially in the game of football, how violent it is. But, you never never want to see something like this. And it really hits home hard. I mean, I played football, I know people who still are playing sports at a high level, football at a high level. And, you never want to see anyone kind of be in this situation.
Yeah. No, I mean, you couldn't have said it better, Tony. The thing is too, in like you alluded to, we've seen, scary looking injuries, guys down the field for a while, but most of the time, not all of the time. I mean, obviously we've seen people, carted off in the stretcher where they're able to get up, or, you just see some good sign. But when you saw that last night, the emotion on the players' faces, you could just tell how serious it was. And I'm sure as, time passes on here, we'll have more of a detailed kind of description of what happened. But from what I can tell, it does appear, he was pretty much like actually dead for 9 minutes. And the CPR that they tried for those 9 minutes eventually worked. And, they're saying he's on a breathing tube now. So, you just think of that and just how unfortunate it is. And it was something too that, like, moving forward, I mean, it was just a freak thing. And just the way that, he was hit, there's just no way to prevent that. It was just so random and rare, and it just leaves everybody in such a predicament now. What is the path forward? And obviously, like everybody's been saying, since last night, is the priority is Damar and his well-being. So we just gotta, hope for the best. But really, I mean, since last night, there hasn't been any new updates, just that he's in critical condition, but has that breathing tube. So we'll just have to hope for the best. But it's just one of those things where it's just tough to move forward, because you just keep thinking about it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think, the best you could do is, like you said, to be hopeful. I mean, you said, what was the name of the hockey player that took the
Oh,
slap
Chris
shot? Chris
Pronger.
Pronger, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was someone who was in a similar situation,
Mhm.
right? Who went into cardiac arrest after taking a slap shot to the chest. But, you mentioned a couple weeks later, he was back on the ice and he played,
Yeah,
several
long
more
career.
seasons, like a long
Yeah.
career after that. So, there is certainly hope here, for Damar. And, um, I think that it's important to kind of keep that hope alive with us. And I think that it is, smart to kind of, talk about sports and still kind of, move on with our lives. Obviously, still keeping him in mind. And like I said, it's definitely possible. An athlete of his caliber, a young man such as himself. I mean, he can certainly come back from this. And obviously, I mean, I think he will. I'm praying that he will. And, like I said, I'm hopeful and positive about it.
Yeah, yeah, obviously, I'm in the same boat, and you are right about, moving forward, paying your respects, and that's the thing. You could do both at the same time, and,
Yeah.
that's what we're doing. And actually, I think this is pretty, helpful and just interesting to read here. So Chris Pronger actually tweeted an hour ago, "Prayers that Damar Hamlin can have the same outcome that I was fortunate to have with my incident. Our thoughts, prayers go out to DeMar, his family, teammates, in the greater NFL community during this incredible, scary time." So obviously that's a nice thing that
Hmm.
Chris Pronger put out there. And he's actually been engaging with people on Twitter. And actually, I had this wrong. It said incident happened in game 2. So this was a playoff series. I was cleared to play in game 3 after wearing a heart monitor for 24 hours and running
Wow.
a battery test in my heart. I think just the only difference was, it was still a cardiac event, but I don't
Right.
think he was out for 9 minutes. So that's just unfortunately the only difference here. I keep looking on Twitter just to see, if there's any updates. And if we get any, we will definitely bring them to you. But this is something that, the obviously this is a very negative thing, but you do like to see all the support that
Hmm.
that he's getting. And I don't know if you saw the thing about his charity,
Yeah.
how the amount of money donated, I mean, probably more than 10 times
Hmm.
increased. So you like to see the support by the people out there.
Oh yeah.
So, once again, prayers and wishes to his family, and, we'll give you guys any updates, that we can. And one thing I just wanted to mention too, and we've talked about him before, but the whole thing with Skip, I don't know, did you see what he said at all, or?
It was something along the lines of like, how could you postpone this game this late in the season? Playoff implications. This is very important. Like, what are you doing? You have to play this game, sort of deal, right?
Right, pretty much. And other parts of the tweet was saying that, obviously his life is more important, blah, blah, blah. But it's just the fact, once again, I feel like Skip is showing that he just cares about himself, and is making the moment by himself. And I really just struggle to understand how he's gotten so far being the way that he is, because it's like he doesn't say things that he even thinks. Like, he just says things for a reaction. So I don't understand why anybody finds that captivating.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting, you know, I guess predicament that he's in because I think he kind of has like, obviously, he is someone who is, pretty famous for being on television for analyzing sports and his takes. But I just think that a little bit, I mean, part of me thinks that it is just kind of an act for him to be like, wow, if I say this, like I'm gonna get views tomorrow morning, sort of deal. But another part of it makes me think like he also feels like the pressures of being that type of, I guess, like figurehead, where it's like, okay, this happens, like I should tweet, I gotta tweet about it right now. Like this is happening right now. Like this is what I need to do. I need to put my opinion out there so people know. And he just doesn't really think at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe that's like, that could be anyone's initial reaction. Is like, oh wow, like they do need to play this game. Like this may ruin the season. Like that may be your initial reaction, which is okay. But like he doesn't have a chance because he's thinking like I have to just tweet this out right now because everyone's talking about it. And he tweets out that initial thought, which is obviously, without him taking a step back, realizing what's going on. I mean, people, at this point, when this play happened and he collapses, I mean, people are already talking about it, not even knowing what's going on, right? So Skip, obviously being a man in his position, feels like he has to weigh in. He doesn't know what's going on. No one really knew what was going on. Other than the people on the field, really. And they probably didn't even know much about what was going on, right?
No.
So I think he just kind of got stuck in this position where he has to tweet out. He tweets out something wrong. And I feel like it's something that he's done before.
He did it with Dak when his brother
yeah. It's so stupid. I mean, it's just not smart. I don't think this man at that point should be able to tweet out. I mean, he should know. Like I think like a lot of news media, want to be there first. But it's especially nowadays, people are sick of these bullshit takes. Sometimes it's better to take a step back and to take a few minutes, collect your thoughts, and then tweet something out. And that could, it could maybe that tweet, which was more well thought out, could, have some more weight against someone who's just tweeting out like immediately, oh man, this is what or speculation or bad takes, really, because you don't know what's going on. So, I mean, I just think it's a bad job by Skip. I understand that, maybe earlier in his career, this guy was someone who was looked to for his opinion. But I think now it's just so like homogenized with the market and everything. And it's just so like, he's like you're saying, he's trying to get a rise out of people. And it's just, it's nothing substantial. What he said doesn't even mean anything to me. Like, what are you talking about? Like everyone says the same thing. What do you like? This is wrong. Like what you're saying, like, it's just a bad take. You're wrong. You don't really know what you're talking about. It's just, it's lazy. It's not good at all.
And it's like, I know that, he has a contract and there's eyeballs on his TV show, but do you think it's at all possible that this could be the beginning of the end of him in terms of, having his show and having the platform that he has, that this is like the final straw, or do you think that he's just gotten away with it for so long that it's going to just continue on?
I mean, that's a good question. Honestly, I kind of thought what he said about Dak
was worse.
Yeah. I mean, so
About
far out of
leadership
line.
or something.
Yeah, and it was on his show too. It wasn't a tweet, right? It was on his show. And it's just like, oh my God, dude. Like it was like really hard to hear. And it's also just wrong. I mean, again, I mean, it's tough for me to say like, oh, it's the end of him, because I don't think it's gonna be. I
want to know the people, like, who enjoys him though. That's the thing that I struggle, because I feel like you talk to anybody and everybody has the same opinion that he's just BSing. It's all a show. So I just don't get, where does that following come from?
I don't know. I mean, again, like, I mean, I didn't watch him when I was younger. I didn't really follow his career necessarily. But I mean, it's not like this man is it doesn't seem he's of any like athletic stature. I mean, he didn't play, he never coached. Why is he even like,
right? No, well, and that whole big argument, like the whole thing with Jalen Rose and him and CJ from way back. Me and Matt have talked about it, and we could always pull it up. That would actually be funny to do some type of like review on it. I swear to God, you would think it's hilarious, but huge argument. And basically, Jalen Rose called out Skip for averaging like less than a point per game as a senior in high school, and called him Water Pistol Pete.
Really?
And it was just completely insane. So yeah, that'd be something you'd like to see. But
yeah, we can break that down. I would love to break that down.
And it's just and then Stephen A kind of defends him, saying he was a journalist for over 30 years. But it's like, if you're not like, if you're just saying things to say them, how are you a journalist? How are you? How do you give us information? What benefit are you to us?
He's really not a journalist. I mean, I can talk about all day about how what journalism looks like today as opposed to what it did prior. But he did the same thing with Shannon Sharp too. He like questioned his
I wonder
legacy,
too, and especially after this incident, I saw the legacy thing. Is that going to come to an end? Just in terms of them working together. I mean, how could Shannon not be tired of it?
And honestly, I mean, I'm a big fan of Shannon Sharp. I think he's got good takes.
Right.
Smart man. He's got like the resume to back himself
and I
up.
think that incident wasn't like, I think that was actually real.
Yeah, I think it was too. I forget who they were talking about.
Something a tight end or something, or no, that Brady was still playing and that Shannon was cooked 10 years earlier.
Yeah. Which is so ridiculous.
He's Hall of Famer.
And honestly, like you look at Shannon Sharp, he's fucking
still
looks like he could still get in there, man.
Yeah.
Like Jesus.
So I think I could see that separation, happening. But I really just hope we could. I mean, it would really. I just don't know with the contract and everything, because I know Fox is paying him a lot of money, but I don't know. I think we all would be better off. And it's like, I feel like it's not too much to ask. And I know a lot of things, we talked about staging and rigged and all of this, but like, it's not too much to ask to just, if you're interested in like, consuming sports media, that you just want real opinions and truthful information, and not stuff with motive and stuff like that. I feel like that's just not too much to ask. And it's like, really, it's like, I mean, he's basically an actor at this point, Skip Bayless.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it really is. Like I was saying before, I really question whether or not the things he says, like he does truly, like there's no way he believes these things.
And like the stuff he said about LeBron, like maybe to an extent, but like, come on, like it just like the way he says it's like he like really tries to discredit him to the point where he's almost denying that he's an all-time great. And that's just like insane. You could say like, oh, Michael Jordan, this and that better, but the whole Mark Cuban thing was just so funny. And I know we talked about that a while ago.
And it's like, I don't know. Sometimes I watch him and I want to say maybe once have I seen him like admit where he made a mistake.
Yeah.
But he will die on any hill that he's on for whatever it is, dude.
Yeah.
Like he just does not budge no matter what you say. It's just like what he says, like he thinks it seems like he really thinks that it's true. It's crazy.
And I would love to, I almost think, even if let's say somehow Fox was able to end the relationship, I would love to see it, and I would even question myself if that would actually even humble him. Like, I really think he would just make his own platform and still say the same ridiculous things.
Yeah, probably. I mean, it's very interesting because I feel like we've seen, like, when you think of Stephen A. Smith, I feel like they're kind of almost in the same category. Skip probably has just worser takes, but in terms of being the whole like actor, the theatrics and everything, I feel like Stephen A is right up there with being like having more of a like it's more of a theater show for him. He puts on this whole big I don't like does Stephen A really talk like this all the time?
Yeah, no, and I agree with that. And I back in the day, I used to like Stephen A. I used to think he was almost kind of like funny in a sense. And I obviously see what you're saying now, but at least with him, I feel like there are certain times where he actually is being serious. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and I feel like Skip never is serious.
And I would definitely say Stephen A seems to be more knowledgeable about sports in general.
Right.
I mean, the man knows, like, he knows about boxing. He can talk NBA, obviously, football.
Yeah, just chill with the hockey, though, or baseball.
Oh, yeah. The baseball and hockey. I mean, it's
referencing Hank Steinbrenner.
But it's interesting because I feel like ESPN caters to Stephen A.
Right, right.
So I mean, I don't know. It's tough because I feel like, unfortunately, you know, these these figureheads here do get views. They do get the likes. They get the eyes on them. And to any organization, to any business, that means more viewership, more money, more sponsors, more promotional stuff, like more ad revenue. So I mean, ESPN, their eyes light up. They lick their chops at moments like this, where it's like, hey, like, clearly, I mean, they still give Skip, full reign, on what he says on his Twitter. I mean, how is there not like someone just checking what he tweets out before he says it, or even like during the shows, like a producer in his ear being, "Hey, Skip, like, stop," or like even like a suit from coming down from ESPN being like, "Skip, like, you can't be saying this. Like, this is not good." Like, it seems like there's no like like no one's holding him accountable. There's nothing. There's like no one even cares. Like, just do whatever you want, sort of deal, and nothing. You're untouchable.
And I don't know if the stupid mindset here is that any press attention is good press, whether it's good or bad.
I mean, I understand. Like, I mean, that is true in a lot of sense, a lot of the ways, but not all. It's not like not every time. Like, I don't know. Like, it's not true every time, dude.
Yeah, it is ridiculous. And I think too, what I would say is there's so many other options. And obviously, like, we talk about them a lot, but the first thing that comes to mind is Rick and Dave. Like, you know what I mean? There's no dog and pony show. You know what I mean? Like, they're telling you what you think. And the guys on WFAN, like, that's real talk. It's not it's not an act. So it's like, I don't understand why we ever got to a point where Skip's style was warranted and was desired. I think that we've seen it too with just coverage of sports at times, and ESPN has done this where it just gets away from the basics. And I know that's just part of the world in general, where we have this constant desire for changing things. And it's just like, there's nothing better than the basics in just real sports. And that's why too, like, whether it's on TV or on the radio, like with me, with Sirius, I love NFL radio. I love MLB radio, NBA radio, PGA Tour radio, and then like NFL Network, MLB Network, because there's no sideshow, there's no hidden agenda. It's just straight coverage. And it's like, I just think you were created because you were supposed to offer that, and then somehow you got off the beaten path, and I just don't think it's right.
Yeah, no, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's so tough when you kind of get down to like really like the bedrock of some of these issues. And it's unfortunately, like you said, like, people get so far from their original like plan, like what they really put out there to do, like ESPN was put out there to just cover sports, and it was, it's nice. I mean, early on, obviously, it's tough because, they are a business and they're trying to change with the world as well. And I think, social media really played a huge role in how, ESPN kind of, I guess, got away from just reporting on sports. I mean, when you think about it, I mean, you look at what ESPN was in the early 2000s, in the 90s. I mean, it was Sports Center, and it was just highlights, just ripping through highlights, and just talking about like what happened during the day. And it sucks because, obviously, the world changed with social media. And, when you think about it, I mean, if I wanted to know the Maple Leafs Oilers score back in the day, I had to wait for Sports Center at night. I couldn't go on my phone. So now, you kind of get people who know what happened in the game. So there's no point for Sports Center to be ripping through highlights really necessarily of these games. They still do a little bit, but most of it, unfortunately, is analysis and kind of like these takes by these guys who, in my opinion, a lot of them, I don't think even should be on TV anymore. I mean, I just think that they have poor takes. ESPN, you look at ESPN day shows. I mean, it's just like looks like a bunch of dinosaurs on TV. who are certainly knowledgeable for sure, but I mean, who, like their reach, I just feel like is so short now. Where when I was a kid and I watched SportsCenter, I was just captivated.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it
I
was
would watch
fun.
it 3 times.
It was fun, dude. It was like their personalities were upbeat. It was cool.
Obviously, you think back to Stuart Scott,
Yeah,
those days,
and
Patrick.
Where I know maybe some people may think it's corny, but they had like their little like catchphrases, like
and Stuart Scott was big on that.
So cool.
Same thing with Dan Patrick, even Chris Berman, and it's just I don't know, who knows the inner workings, but I thought it was, I get it, like some of the stuff was annoying, but I think and maybe there was stuff behind the scenes we don't know, but it's like I think he was kind of wrongly like really downgraded, because I think he's like original ESPN. He's what ESPN is known for. And, it was basically, he was completely taken off the air. Then they did, just some postseason highlight shows, a quick blurb Monday night. And then now it's turned into a show on ESPN Plus. But it's like, I don't know, taking him off the Derby, taking him off the draft. Like, did you mind him that much or no?
No.
Like, and you liked back. Because instead of interviews during the Derby and all that BS, right? I mean,
dude, it was entertaining.
Yeah.
Jay appreciated the top 10 plays you said, highlight of his childhood.
It really was.
Now they're kind of trash, honestly, dude.
Yeah.
And it's not even just reporting. I feel like sometimes like play number 6 is like the best one they show.
Yeah,
and then number 1 is like, what are we doing?
And I used to love the original NFL Countdown, Sunday NFL Countdown with Boomer, with Keyshawn. Keyshawn before he did this Kellerman stuff. Keyshawn was actually good. With Ditka, with Michael Irvin.
Oh, dude.
That was the best.
Dude, Michael Irvin, he's a funny guy.
Yeah.
He's funny.
And it's kind of interesting because, the whole legal situation with him, and that's why he was eventually ousted from ESPN, right. But now he's technically back, with Stephen A. On First Take, which is just kind of interesting. But
I don't know. I just feel like, I mean, maybe I was just young, but I feel like there was like way less like ego and big personalities on these shows. I mean, you mentioned these big names and they all just got together and just like talked and had a good time, as opposed to just like yelling at each other. Like on a show,
that, and the fact too, like I get it. You want to have some notes you want to reference, sure, but where did we get to the point where, like for pre and post game shows, and even just shows in general, where everything has to be teleprompter? I mean, I feel like that's a little ridiculous.
Not only is it teleprompter, but it's like this long-winded, like over explanation type of intro, and it's like, come on, man.
MLB Network, was it all teleprompter or no?
Oh my God. I mean, maybe some of it, like top of the show, bottom of the show sort of deal. But I mean, dude, Harold Reynolds is just up there ripping,
Oh, so it wasn't like a whole pre-planned, like opinionated takes on like certain things. Like you're saying he just did it by himself, like off the dome.
Basically, yeah. Okay. I mean, I remember literally like, especially Harold Reynolds, I think is such a pro. I mean, they all are at MLB Network. I mean, they were so good at just like growing with the punches. And of course, obviously it's live television. But I mean, they like Reynolds specifically was so just like laid back. I don't even think he looked at what the rundown would even say, to be honest. He'd be like rolling in 5 minutes for the show, putting his tie on, like, oh, like we're doing this. Yeah, all right. And then he's just like on the show, dude. I mean, it was definitely off the cuff. I mean, it's honestly really impressive. I think MLB Network does have some of the best coverage. I mean, MLB Tonight is such a great show. Talk about analysis.
MLB Network just in general.
It really is. MLB Now is, with DeRosa and Lauren Shahadi, and it's, oh my God, dude. I mean, I used to be so hyped to work. I used to work like high heat in the morning, and then like towards the end of my shift, I'm just kind of chilling, watch MLB Now. And the breakdowns that DeRosa would have when they put him in front of the big TV and he's just like with the bat and he's showing you like what each pitch means, what the batter's thinking, what the pitcher is thinking. I mean, the breakdowns were just so in depth and smart and intuitive. It's great TV. And again, he's up there and he knows like this is like the at bat we're watching, but everything else is just off the top of his head, like what he's thinking in the moment,
And the nice part about MLB Network is if you think about 15, 20 years ago, baseball on ESPN was very highly covered. The Baseball Tonight nightly, they don't do that anymore. There's no breakdown. There's barely any talk of baseball. And it's just like, MLB Network, like that's back to the roots, like talking about pitches,
Yeah.
locations, movements, strategy. Really is good stuff. And
Yeah.
it's a shame that we've gotten away from that and the other sources of media.
I know. It really is a shame. Very underrated network over there, man.
Yeah. They have a nice bloodline.
Dude. That's funny, dude.
But yeah, so definitely really just enjoy the grassroots stuff.
Couple comments from Jay. Says ESPN used to be the underdog network. People rooted for them, and now they have just become another big network. Too big for the britches.
It's true, but also I think it's tough because just no matter what network we're talking about, these studio shows and pre and post games, they don't have the value or even the eyeballs that they used to. Because I want to see something about the game, I'll just go on Twitter.
Yeah.
Or like, when Bill Pito was in here, he was talking about like the Knicks, for instance. They're competing against fans, having their own post game shows.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
so ridiculous.
It's completely different. So I think the need for that has changed, which just changes everything. So definitely, interesting stuff. But let's go now to the world of the National Hockey League.
Here's Matthews. Scores! Hat-trick goal!
My goodness, this is a great shot.
Big hit on the far side by McCarr! He flattens Jordan's skull! Oh my goodness!
That's the top right back. Terrified and robbed by Shesterkin. That's brilliance from Igor Shesterkin.
It's a breakaway to win it in overtime. McDavid scores! The winner in overtime!
Jay Libertelli, Sportsport's huge competitor.
Jay
knows it, dude.
Is the man. We all know that.
Bring the whole system down.
So as we had mentioned yesterday, smaller slate on the ice yesterday. As we were wrapping up, the Bruins with that late goal to defeat the Penguins in the Winter Classic, 2-1, and it just seemed once again, just an instant success. Anytime you have those outdoor games, in the NHL, there's always just so much interest and well attended. And you even lauded how they did the Red Sox uniforms going off the bus.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's the Red Sox for me or what, but it seems a little out of character, Tony.
Just take a step back, Brian. Okay.
All right, Skip. No, but I get it. It's a nostalgic thing. That's for sure. But it's kind of interesting. I feel like, we saw some teams, like the Devils, like the Knights, get off to these hot starts, but not be able to maintain it. But the feel that I get, Tony, and it's different, it's not like the Red Sox, not like the Patriots, but still, Boston is kind of annoying. But I have to say, I'm beginning to think that the Bruins might be a step above everyone else. I mean, what do you think about this? I mean, 29-4-4.
I mean, yeah, they are at, a very, ridiculously high level right now. They have two phenomenal goaltenders in Ullmark and Swayman that they can lean on. Obviously, the usual suspects from the team. But I mean, you look at who scored yesterday. I mean, I think it was Jacob DeBrusk.
Yeah, he had two goals.
He has 30 points in the season now, 16 goals, 14 assists. A young dude, 26 years old from Edmonton. Obviously, you think of the Bruins, you think of their some of their older players. I mean, Bergeron, Marchand, been on the team forever. And now it looks like they have like this young guy who's kind of coming into his own. He's been with the team a few years now so far. Looks like he was drafted in 2017. And this is looks like it's going to be, by far, one of his best seasons, So, I mean, they have the veteran team there, clearly coaching the young guys, and they have these young guys who are coming into their own. And then the goaltending. I mean, their defense is great. To hold a team like Pittsburgh, too, to only one goal. Pittsburgh was a team who kind of, finally found themselves offensively. With Malkin and Crosby kind of, finding their wheels here to kind of stop them like that defensively, and then to have some success, offensively, especially, not really, letting up at all game. I mean, this was a great game to watch. Very, very close in terms of shots on goal, 29 for Boston, 27 for Pittsburgh. Both teams working hard on the penalty kill. Both teams are 0 for 3. Goaltenders absolutely killing it. But Boston, just being gritty, being, physical. They're such a good physical team. And they were kind of able, I think the last goal was like with 2 minutes left, I mean, especially with the way the game was going 1-1, it looked like it was going to go to overtime. These teams were not scoring a lot. So, I mean, for them to kind of, find the back of the net, especially, I think that last goal by DeBrusque, I think it was Hall who made like a nice dangle, found found his way, close to the net, and DeBrusque was just sitting there in the blue. And when you're in there, when you're in that little half circle in front of the net, I mean, you're probably going to score. So a great game. And again, for something like the Winter Classic, I think great matchup, especially for at this point in the season. Like, Boston is good. So is Pittsburgh. They're both going to be contending teams here. And I think, I think Fenway looked good. The crowd was definitely rocking. It was a good day for it. There was no issues on the ice. It was a great Winter Classic this year.
Yeah. Always is a success. I always look forward to watching those games and just the differences that you see than your traditional indoor game. And I was kind of mentioning this before, but just about Boston, being a step up. And it almost kind of reminds me of where Colorado was at this point last year. And obviously they went on to win the Stanley Cup. But you think about the teams in the East, obviously everybody's behind Boston, but the big powerhouse names, like Toronto, like Tampa, like Carolina, like the Devils, and you can throw the Rangers and the Penguins in there, Capitals to a lesser degree. But do you think that, come as we get closer to trade deadline time and everything, that there's going to be a big push to do everything that these teams can do to kind of close that gap? Because like I was alluding to, I think there is a pretty big gap. I mean, you look at it overall in the Eastern Conference, they have a 10-point advantage. So that's a pretty big stranglehold at this point of the season. And the top team in the West, they're 8 points ahead of too. So a lot of separation. But do you think we'll see a very active trade deadline? Just kind of because of that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's a lot of teams who are kind of fighting for the wild card, fighting for those last few spots too. And even, in the middle, I mean, there's gonna be a lot of teams, like Edmonton, even who knows? I mean, if Vegas keeps kind of struggling, Carolina, Dallas, maybe even might be looking for some extra players to kind of, propel themselves to being, not only contending in the regular season, but, a team that you can say, wow, like they could make it to the conference finals. They could possibly, steal a cup showing here. So, I think that there's, it's going to be the stove will be hot come the trade deadline for sure. And you have a lot of teams also like Chicago, St. Louis, who are going to be looking to trade as well. So I think there'll be a lot of buyers, a lot of sellers, which would definitely mean an exciting trade deadline.
And, obviously we'll talk about their game tonight in a second, but I have to ask, the Rangers, as currently constructed, deep down in your heart, fandom aside, do you feel like they have what it takes to take down Boston, or do you think that they need to do some refining?
Wow, it's tough. To take down Boston, are you talking about like if they were like
playoff series, Eastern Conference Finals?
No, honestly, right now, I think that's kind of a tall order for them. I just don't think that they would have the ability to they don't have enough goal scorers, it seems. Do I think we have enough players on our roster that, the players on the roster could develop into those goal scorers? Yeah, I think so. I think we've been doing very good defensively. And I think that some players, we mentioned Kako yesterday, but if like Lafreniere kind of finds his own as well, Hedo's been doing really well, but as of late, a little bit of a slump. So I feel like Hedo steps up a little bit. If Kako steps up, continues to step up, I would say.
Trocheck seems to have found a groove a little bit.
Yeah, Trocheck, like I said, Kako, these are players, these players are trending upward, I would say, but I don't think we're quite there yet, but I think again, if they keep trending upwards, by the time the playoffs come, we're going to be in position, obviously, for the playoffs. And then, we could be in a position to beat Boston. Yeah, definitely.
It's just crazy to look, and I know there'll be a lot of toggling in the standings, but right now, Colorado not in the playoffs. How ridiculous is that? 19 and 14.
Crazy. I know. I mean, it's tough for them, I guess. I don't know. I mean, you obviously can't blame their goaltender.
Yeah.
Because Georgiev has been killing
All-star maybe this year?
Definitely, dude.
Yeah.
Definitely. Obviously feeling the McKinnon injury. I mean, he's your captain, like he's one of your best goal scorers here. But some other guys have to step up is really what it is. I mean, I don't know if they just have like some Stanley Cup fever or something like that. But they got I think their coach has to get in there and get their heads in the game here.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see, did they make any moves to kind of, make up for that McKinnon injury? So something definitely to monitor for sure. But also just kind of rounding out, what happened on the ice yesterday. We had two other games, and to no surprise of mine, the Flyers handily over the Ducks 4-1. And it's just funny. We had spoke about it yesterday, how, the Flyers haven't had a good year. They're under 500, but the Ducks, I mean, are just a complete dumpster fire. And that's obviously is evident when, a mediocre team like Philadelphia can, make mince meat of them. And, it's one of those situations where we say, if you're watching this from afar, you would think that, Philly has a pretty good team, and to do this with Earson and net, I think is impressive stuff. But I don't think, it's unfortunately for them a sign of things to come, especially with just the competitiveness of the Eastern Conference. I don't think they really have a shot. And it's funny too. We had talked about Colorado. They fall 3-2 yesterday to the Golden Knights, who right now have that first position in the Western Conference. But definitely this was a good game. McKinnon led off the scoring with a goal to make it 1-0, but then Vegas 3 straight goals. And they end up answering back with a goal in the third, but couldn't put another one across to fall 3-2. So just kind of a tough loss for them. After going through a slide, and it seems like they've kind of figured it out. Are you a believer in Vegas going forward here?
Yeah. Honestly, talk about leading on a good goaltender. Logan Thompson, I believe is his name. I mean, dude, he's been, I think, killing it for them. And then of course, you have, I think they have Jordan Eberle on their team too, who's had some decent games this season. I'm just looking at some stats here. Oh yeah, Mark Stone, who's been with the team, I think, since their conception. Of course, you got Eichel, Pietrangelo, Phil Kessel actually on the team too, 14 points. But I think they have a good mix of young, good talent, and then a few veterans as well. I mean, Pietrangelo was on the Blues Stanley Cup winning team. Obviously, Phil Kessel has been around the league forever. I think now, he did break the record for, I think, most consecutive games played here. Stone also has been around the league for a while too. You know how good Eichel is. I just think it's a really impressive team what they have put together so far. And this is a team that in their first year was just like this close of winning a Stanley Cup.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of those guys know that they're still hungry. I mean, that was it would have been a Cinderella year for them for that type of draft that team had. And for those guys to, on kind of a short notice, be required to play hockey at a very high level without really knowing each other. It was a new place for everybody at that point. It was basically everyone was averaged out to zero. And they made a hell of a year out of it. So I knew that they would kind of come back a couple of years and be very competitive. And to see it now, I mean, you got to be excited for them. I mean, and they have such a great market, obviously, in Vegas. I mean, the show they put on, the pregame show and everything that. I mean, people are hyped. People are going to Vegas looking to go see the Knights too. I mean, I think it's a great story for them so far in the league, and certainly some great showmanship too.
Yeah, Yeah, absolutely. So good stuff out of there. I mean, that's really, and I understand, with the market, they have an advantage versus some other, expansive franchises, but that's the model for entering the league as an expansion franchise. That is for sure, Tony. But we do have a full slate tonight, and I'll update the picks from last night. We didn't have too many. But if you would kind of give me your thoughts, your Rangers big game tonight at the Garden against one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference in the Carolina Hurricanes. We've talked about Nikas, we've talked about Sevi and the slew of goaltenders that they have over there in Carolina. Carolina minus 132 as the road favorites here, and you'd expect Igor to draw the start after they went with Halak last game. What's your mindset going into this one?
Well, my mindset honestly is to keep these good times rolling so far that we've had in the new year. Beating the Panthers. Carolina's going to come in here hot. I think they're on a pretty significant win streak here. Let's see. I think it's got to be at least 5 by now. I think we haven't talked about them losing in a while. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No way. 10, 11. 11 game win streak right now? Yeah.
Sounds about right.
That is
been
pretty
red hot.
That's pretty outrageous here. So Carolina, like I said, is going to come in here looking pretty hot. I think that we certainly have the skaters to keep up with them. But again, I think it's just a matter of us finding the back of the net before they do to start the game off. Let them feel the pressure. I feel like historically this season, the Rangers haven't done great when being down 2 goals or even a goal, honestly, at some points. They just get too nervous. They know they're down. They have to make up some ground here, and they just get a little too slap happy. They make mistakes. I think that if you put the pressure on Carolina right away, like get a goal quick, let them feel pressure, let them be on the heels of their toes, or the heels of their feet, and then they'll start making mistakes, and you can take advantage of power play opportunities. I think that's going to be your best bet. 5-on-5 hockey is going to be really hard against them. The Rangers sometimes, buckle in 5-on-5. They have a hard time scoring in 5-on-5. And I think, watching the game against the Panthers, our power play unit was playing really well. Vincent Trocheck has been skating like an absolute animal all over the ice, making plays on both ends, defensively, offensively. Schneider being another one. I would say those are your 2 key players, honestly, for the Rangers this game. I want to see Trocheck and Kreider's line getting a lot of time on the ice. I want to see Schneider a lot of time on the ice with that line as well. I think the 3 of them, Schneider being the defenseman, match him up with Fox. Why not? And then with a couple forwards like Kreider and Trocheck, that's going to be a recipe for scoring right there. You have hard skaters. They know how to play defense. Trocheck knows how to back check as a forward. That's going to be, I think, a line to watch out for the Rangers. And I think that's where we're going to find our success. And of course, Igor sharp in between the pipes. He's going to need to be against a team like Carolina. And I would say those right there are certainly your keys to victory. If you're asking me if this is going to be my pick right now,
yeah, you have
the pick of the litter.
The pick of the litter. So you don't have to start with this one.
No, you know what? I will, as I typically do. I'll take the Rangers here tonight in the Garden. Why not take the underdog? Am I right, dude?
In a reunion of sorts, Antti Ranta drawing the start has been hot, kind of splitting the goaltending duties with Kochkirov. Both have 10 wins, and Kochkirov's stats are slightly better. But kind of interesting, he kind of seemed like a guy that would be, just kind of a career backup, but he's really, it's 1A and 1B. Frederik Andersen's been injured for a while.
It's crazy, dude. It really is that he's stepping up. It's nice to see him now. I think he was on. He's been on a few teams, I think, besides Carolina. I want to. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking Cam Talbot. Never mind. But talk about a reunion. Trocheck, right, for the Rangers. There's quite a few Rangers though on Carolina. Derek Stepan, who just came off a 2-goal game, used to be in the Rangers. Jesper Fast as well. And then we all know, I always talk about him, a good defenseman for Carolina, Brady Shea. I really enjoyed him when he was on the Rangers. Now he's on Carolina. So you have a lot to watch out for against Carolina. Those are just the former Rangers that are good. Don't worry about, they have Brett Burns in the team, Calvin DeHaan. You mentioned, Svechnikov and,
Aho.
Sebastian Aho, dude. It's going to be very interesting to see, how they do. But I am certainly being pretty positive about it.
Antti Ranta, just to give you a synopsis, 2 years in Chicago, 2 in New York, 4 in Arizona, and this is his second year in Carolina.
There we go, dude. I think it's gonna be a great game, Brian.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely pumped for it, and I think I would love to go.
Chokri, maybe come along too. Fly up.
He's still on vacation, but I'm sure if he was home, he would have been down. I think this is really because Carolina, they just really had it. You want to see the Rangers step up in a big way against an opponent like this. Because you think about it, they've had uneven play of recent, coming out of the winter break, getting shut out by the Capitals. We didn't like to see that, or losing that game to the Lightning. Obviously big win against Florida over the weekend, but it's like this would be pretty big. And I feel like it is a good opportunity too. And I know it seems kind of silly to say this, but it's like, because Carolina's on such a long winning streak, it's like they kind of are due to lose one. So, if you could kind of catch them at the right time, I think, that could be big. And it's just crazy. And I know I kind of mentioned this, relating to other teams, but just how much, firepower kind of spread out Carolina has. Sevy has 19 goals. Nikos has 16 goals. Aho has 12. Jordan Staal has 10.
Wow.
And then, you have, a couple guys, 9, 8, 6, 6. So there's just, they're spreading the wealth. So that just makes it, tougher to defend. But I think, they should be up for the task. And I think the defense of recent has been pretty good. And really, like what we've seen, with them over the last couple of years has just been an inconsistency offensively. And that's something that we hope to see strong out of them, because I know Igor is going to give them a good effort here. I can tell you that much. So let's hope that the offense does their job. But this one at 7:00. And I'm going to go with my first pick. And by the way, we both picked winners yesterday. Obviously, short slate, but point apiece. You hitting with Vegas and me, hitting that game with the Flyers. But actually, let me just make one check to Daily Faceoff, because I do not want to take a Connor Ingram game. What do we got here? Is this at the top? Okay, Vizmelka confirmed. Vizmelka Spencer Knight, Tony. Tell me that is not going to be an instant classic. And I know Florida's struggling this year, 2 under, Coyotes 4 under, but those are 2 good tenders. And Spencer Knight, had a hot start, has scuffled a little bit his last couple of games, but you could tell he's got some ability there. And we've talked, in terms of Arizona, the question's always going to be the offense. Will the offense be there? And will the defense, give Vizmelka as much of a break as they can? But I think the thing that really bodes well for Arizona here is we've seen them beat some tough opponents. They beat the Bruins. They beat the Avalanche. So Florida, I mean, the way they've played, how could you pick Florida? You know what I mean? It's just, they haven't given you a reason to be confident all season long. So I think the blueprint's simple, Crochet and Keller, get them the puck near the net. They'll find a way to put 2 or 3 across and let Vizmelka do his thing. But give me Arizona here, 3-1 over Florida.
Wow, dude. Big underdog, huh?
What do you think, though, honestly? I mean, first of all, you speak big underdog. I mean, isn't 365 insane?
That does seem like a lot for me. I understand, you're in Florida, but I don't know, dude. Florida, obviously, they have talent. Spencer Knight.
I think they're going to miss the playoffs.
But, I feel like they could be a team that drops off, too.
Yeah. It's all the Huberdeau was the glue.
Yeah, dude.
And they were the glue for him. That's what just kind of
Huberdeau was the glue.
How you don't really see that often. It's usually, a breakup like this, like with teams, one guy, wins, but it's like neither of them win.
I know. It sucks. It really is a shame.
But yeah, you think any chance, him, the Flames, Kadri, any chance they rebound or no?
Yeah. Come on, dude. There's too much talent on that team to not be successful. It really is crazy.
Yeah.
They got to figure it out a little bit.
What are you going for number 2?
Oh, number 2, dude.
Number 2.
Number 2. You talk about, taking dogs. Another dog, a tight dog here. I'm gonna take Buffalo here in Washington against the Capitals. I feel like it's been a while since I've picked Buffalo.
Tage Thompson.
Tage Thompson, dude. I think it's Jacob Dahlin too, is their defenseman that's really good. Of course, I think Darcy's going to be confirmed in net, I believe, already for the Capitals. And then you have, I think Luukkonen is coming in for Buffalo, but nothing's confirmed yet. But regardless, whether it's Luukkonen or Anderson, I just think Buffalo has been surprising teams left and right, I think, all season. You talk about Thompson, 51 points in the season. He's up there with the point leaders in the league here. Aaron Tuck, Alex Tuck as well, 39 points there. You have Dahlin with 38 points. Skinner, 38 points. Cousins, 34 points. So, a lot of guys up there, with heavy amount of points here. Great goal scoring opportunities here. Of course, they have some solid goaltending. Their defense could use some work, but I'm thinking against the Capitals here at home, the Capitals being at home, that is. We've seen the Capitals kind of struggle offensively a few times when Ovechkin doesn't show up. Sometimes they can't really lean on other players as much. So I would say give me Sabres, who just come out firing, skating hard all day, taking the Caps by surprise. I think it's going to be early and often, honestly, and it could be getting kind of ugly by the end of it. Give me the Sabres 5-2.
Yeah, hard to argue that one, Tony. So I'm gonna go with the Maple Leafs.
Ooh.
You really think they're in danger, or is that just like?
No, that was my next game.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
but come on, Carew and the Blues. Husso not there anymore. And the depth of this team, Tony. You know what I mean? It's like you could name 4 or 5 guys before you get to your guy, Michael Bunting.
Yeah,
just showing the depth, the variety of goal scorers. I feel like it's just so big. And then how about the display of tenders that they have? I mean, it's crazy. I feel like last year there was not this many teams that could go 2 or 3 deep with the goalies. But we've seen that with Toronto, whether it's Murray or it's Samsonov, they've stepped up and done the job. And on the other side of things, Binnington struggling for the second consecutive season, save percentage under 9, goals against over 3. Greece hasn't been any better. His goals are at 3.5 and save percentage hovering around 9. So you just think about that. And I just think at home, I mean, how do you not take Toronto? It seems too obvious to me. And we could talk about traps and different stuff like that, but there's no trap here. Toronto 5-2, Austin Matthews, a hat trick. Lego
to Chicago.
Taking the Blackhawks?
Yeah. No, I'm going to take Tampa Bay here. Tampa Bay on a 3-game winning streak, just recently beating, the Rangers, honestly. The shootout, I believe it was, if memory serves me correctly. Chicago, of course, on the schneid here. Chicago has almost as many losses as Tampa Bay does wins. So, Chicago also on a 4-game losing streak here, scoring only 4 goals in the past 4 games. And even in that 5th game, I guess they scored 5. But anyway, 4 goals in the last 4 games. I mean, atrocious offense. They're a team who's going to be certainly looking for a little bit of a rebuild, I think, going into this trade deadline, going to the off season, believe it or not, as well, because it looks like that their season is already done here. Give me Tampa Bay. I mean, you talk about, the slew of talent. You can get a few names out there before you get to Stamkos. So give me Tampa Bay here. I mean, it's hard to say how high this score could get.
That's too high.
It's honestly might be too high, but I'm going to say 7-1.
Wow. This is kind of interesting for me here. I've always, how I am with certain teams, not a fan of the Stars, not a fan of the Jets. And speaking of the Jets, going against Calgary, but this isn't last year, Tony. You know what I mean? Calgary has just shown that they just don't step up. And the fact that they're minus 140 on the road here, I think is insane. Winnipeg 13-6 at home, obviously the better record. And the fact too that Connor Hellebuck looks like he's going to start. He's 18-9 with a save percentage of 928, goals against at 2.32. He's had 3 shutouts. Lindholm, or not Lindholm, but Markstrom, has had a decent year in terms of goals against, but his save percentage is under 9. So that means he's, not having as many attempts against him, but he's giving up some goals here. So I just think about that and the fact that Calgary just, 18-13 isn't bad, but then you factor in the overtime losses at 7. That's a below 500 team. And, I just, every game is such a struggle. Anaheim took them to overtime. They lost in overtime to LA. They lost to Edmonton and then just squeaked by Vancouver in their last game. Winnipeg has shown it, as much as a believer I haven't been in them. They've got good goaltending, good scoring. So I'm going to say Winnipeg, the home dog. Let's say 4-2 over Calgary.
All right.
Fourth and final?
Fourth and final here. And I'm looking at this game and I was like, going to go with Vancouver, but the Island, I forgot that Vancouver doesn't really have great goaltending. Let's just check out Daily Face-Off while we're just right here, by the way. Here we go to the bottom. Spencer Martin unconfirmed. Ilya Sorokin also unconfirmed. Spencer Martin here, 886 save percentage, 3.5 goals against on average, but the man is 11-6, and that's because Vancouver has had a lot of offense here. I think Vancouver is going to be in the market for, a goaltender because they've had some great goals here this season. Some really fancy stuff. And I just think that they just don't have good goaltending is really their issue. They're on a 2-game losing streak right now, losing to Calgary 3-2, losing to Winnipeg 4-2. But they beat Seattle, they beat Edmonton, they beat San Jose. So they have the capabilities, of beating good teams. Islanders, of course, I think have been kind of inconsistent. Good record, though, 21-15 so far. They talk about leaning on good goaltenders. They have some good goaltending happening over there on the island. First time these two teams are meeting, I think maybe Islanders get a little tripped up here against how quick Vancouver could be. Elias Peterson, I think, has like 41 points in the season, something like that. You have Quinn Hughes as well on the team. And of course, JT Miller. So I think give me Vancouver here, surprising the Islanders. I'm going to say 3-2 in overtime, Brian.
Wow. I like the pick. And the thing is, I'm going to go with a team. They definitely have been up and down this season, but it's a matchup we saw back on the 30th of December. Edmonton came out hot, I think 4 goals in the first, beat Seattle 7-2. And this was in Seattle. This one is in Edmonton. And I know there might be some type of revenge factor here, but the Kraken, they've lost 3 out of 4, but they did win their last game on New Year's against the Islanders. But I just think Edmonton is better than the record suggests. And I think a big thing, Tony, and I know the Kane loss is huge, but they have some other guys on the team, like Nugent Hopkins that can assist with McDavid and Draisaitl. But Stuart Skinner has really stepped up. You think about what they had to deal with Smith and the inefficiencies of Jack Campbell this year, having that goals against approaching 4, save percentage under 9. And I know, we were somewhat questionable at him last year, but are you surprised a little bit about how bad he's been to lose his starting job here?
Campbell?
Yeah, after making the All-Star team last year?
Yeah, honestly. I mean, you think about him, last season, I mean, he was, a big reason why Toronto was doing well, honestly.
Right.
And now, I guess maybe the change of scenery, the different team. Toronto was a team who could play defense. Edmonton can't play defense very well. So maybe that is an issue that maybe people kind of overlooked because of the fact that, maybe he didn't see as many shots, didn't get as many hard opportunities against him, that he had such a great season. But nonetheless, you still would think that, the man made some big saves last year. He's made some okay saves, I guess, this year too. But you would think that consistently he could show up for Edmonton. So maybe there's a little bit more of an issue here than just his skill set, you know?
Yeah, yeah. No, you're absolutely right there. But Skinner, actually, I for some reason I thought he was a veteran, but he's actually younger, so could be finally a building block for Edmonton to have in net. I think that'll be huge. If that's the case. But also too, another guy that stepped up. Nugent Hopkins already has 18 goals. Zach Hyman has 17. Wow. So that's a guy you don't normally think of when you think about when you think about the Oilers. So he's had a nice season, 23 assists as well. So he's kind of stepped in for Kane, which has worked out well. And, if you look at it too, his career high in goals last year at 27, he already has 17. So he could break that and spent the first part of his career with Toronto. I see he was a 5th-round pick back in 2010. It took 5 years to make his debut with Toronto. Was there ever any thought where he was supposed to be like pretty good, or was he always kind of like just an average type of player?
Who's this? Sorry,
Zach Hyman.
Oh, Zach Hyman. I feel like he was pretty highly touted.
Okay, yeah, because I know drafted by Florida, but then with Toronto, and he had some decent years, from 20 and 20 years in terms of goals and assists. But it seems like maybe also I think it helps. You can't underestimate playing with those guys that demand so much attention. Draisaitl and McDavid kind of must open up the ice, you would think.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So I'm gonna say 5-2 this time, not quite 7, but 5-2. As Edmonton looks to climb up the ladder. Right now they sit in that second wild card, Tony, in the Western Conference. So be interesting, entertaining game, you think, or no? Or do you think they kind of seize it?
No, I think it'd be entertaining. Come on.
Yeah, some talent out there.
Yeah.
So something to keep an eye out for. But let's just go quickly to the world of Major League Baseball.
2-2, he got him swinging. A back-to-back strikeouts for Robbie Ray. There's damage right there. Shohei, way, Cy-Yo, nada, where did that land? Smoke to Chapman, who leaps up and grabs it.
Story spins it, fires, out at first.
There it goes, see ya. Home run, Aaron Judge.
All right. So it's been a little while since we talked baseball, so just wanted to update everybody on a couple things. The first two, Tony, 50 years ago today, George Steinbrenner purchased the Yankees for $10 million.
How much are they worth now?
7-8 billion, maybe even 10. Pretty good ROA there, right?
Yeah, quite the return, dude.
And speaking of the Yankees, they have made some minor moves. Willie Calhoun to a minor league deal. Guy that was highly touted with the Rangers. Did you have any type of in-depth look at him at the network, Tony, or no?
No, can't say I did.
But you obviously are familiar with him.
Yes.
So they pick up him. They had already picked up, I believe, Wilmer Defoe, but still that question of, what are they going to do in left field? They just actually had an article in the New York Post yesterday about sorting out left field, jumbled infield questions. Just so many different guys that could play left. Hopefully not, but Aaron Hicks, Estevan Florial, Oswaldo Cabrera, as well as the possibility there's been a lot of noise about bringing over Max Kepler. But that's kind of, the final piece to the puzzle, just in terms of, what they're going to do to kind of round out their offseason. A lot has been made of getting rid of Hicks and Donaldson, but it doesn't seem at this point that that's going to happen. And I know, everything, changes by the day, but in your estimation, do you feel that there's still a couple moves to be made here, or do you see them kind of doing these flyer type deals, low end trades? Like, it's not like we're going to wake up and see Glaber is in with the Marlins tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think it's going to be some of these low end trades now. I don't think they're going to want to get rid of Glaber.
Yeah. Do you think that's the right call, honestly?
Yeah, I think it is. And honestly, I feel like Glaber in Miami would be doing really well, honestly, too. I feel like he would really
pressure, almost face of the franchise offensively. I mean, you got Alcantara. But...
Yeah, no, quite literally, though. I mean, I think he would be an entirely reinvented player. And I think if somehow you can kind of tap into that, it'd be worth it to keep him.
Well, it's just I know it's like one of those things. Like I always ask you, the Yankees are slumping. Why is it happening? What are they doing? But in all seriousness, with Glaber, I mean, what do you think it is? Because we know there is talent there, but why do you think he struggles with consistency so much?
Pressures of being a Yankee.
That's yeah.
I can think of, because you said there's talent there. I mean, the man has shown he could do well. He's even done well in some high pressure situations, but consistently, I mean, it's got to be a mental thing, dude.
And I think too, because of the slide that he went through in August, we kind of underestimate the season he had last year. But you think about around the majors, the second base position, to have 24 home runs, 76 RBIs, score 73 runs, and have an OPS of 761, for that position, that's really good. So I think you have to think about that. Plus, you don't know what the deal is with LeMahieu. I think it would be different if you knew what he was going to bring you. And it's probably, to have the flexibility is probably their best path forward. I just don't want it to be so clogged that guys like Volpe and Peraza have to start in the minors. And I think if they're not going to trade Glaber, they really should take a hard look at trading IKF, because I think he's going to block the young guys.
Yeah, I think he's kind of trash.
Kind of. But just anything for him, Tony. I really would like to see that. The only thing that is two things here, actually. Number one, Glaber, he's been around since a while, made his debut in 18 and, came over in that Chapman trade at 16. He's only 26 years old. I think it feels like he's 30 or older. So that's obviously something that's, on his side. But, in these projections, I mean, how often are they right? But a little disconcerting for me on Baseball Reference, they're projecting him 258, 16 home runs, 62 RBIs.
Really?
I mean, no, right? That should.
Yeah, no.
No.
My mother says, hello, fellas.
Hello. So, those are kind of just the only other things we're looking at, moving forward here. But we are getting closer day by day. We can almost feel it. And Tony, we're talking baseball. I have to ask you, there was some talk, I guess, some renegotiations beginning maybe today with Carlos Correa. Anything on your end that you're hearing?
I mean, I have heard that there are renegotiating here. To what extent? I mean, who the hell knows, I think. But I mean, it seems like that this is a very serious situation in the fact that Cohen feels the need to renegotiate the contract. I mean,
are you getting a little gun shy?
Yeah, it's not very good, dude. First of all, so I don't know. And again, I mean, it's tough because I think, Correa obviously playing hardball, saying I don't want to renegotiate. But in reality, I mean, you're pretty fucking injured. And who knows, honestly, like I know he's saying other teams have contacted him, but honestly, who really knows if other teams have? I'm sure other teams have, but what teams in terms of what capacity have been contacting you? And then are you really just gonna go through this rigmarole again of going through the physical and then finding something wrong and then they're kind of backing out on you? So it should be interesting to see, honestly, what side kind of budges first. But if it's this serious, dude, and I'm Steve Cohen, I mean, I'm gonna certainly lessen the contract a little bit.
And did you see the thing? He's looking for special approval on some type of terms in the deal. Guess it would be if there's like a career-ending leg or ankle issue with him, but I guess he was seeking approval for that.
Yeah, that's approval, meaning like having that in the contract, say a clause, say if I get injured career ending, I still get paid through the contract. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's obviously, if that's a concern of Correa, that would be a concern to me as someone who's paying for him.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess, I don't know. I wouldn't have an issue with that contract, but then have other stipulations where it's like, oh, if you play X amount of games, you get this amount of money. If you hit this amount of home runs, you get this amount of, like, have those, I forget what those are called in contracts.
Stipulations?
Not stipulations. But when you do something
incentivized,
incentives.
Yeah.
Put those incentives into the contract, and then he can make his money that way.
I could tell you though, with the personalities involved here, think about the egos involved here with Cohen, with Boris, with Correa. This thing is going to be on the doorstep of spring training. I'm telling you, I don't think this is getting resolved that soon.
Oh God, dude. So annoying.
Yeah.
Right, Mike?
But I don't know, man. I think in just, seeing how these contracts have bogged down other teams and specifically with the Mets back in the day with Bobby Bonilla. I mean, still paying him. It's like you really have to make smart decisions. And if there's high risk involved, kind of alter it where it's more favorable on your side. So I expected to see them do that.
Yeah.
I guess we'll see. Just some other news bits for the Mets. I just saw this actually. I guess it just was reported 3 minutes ago. Minor league contract left-hander TJ McFarland, 6 ERA with St. Louis last year. 5 minutes on McFarland.
5 minutes, Brian.
Have you heard of him?
Yeah, I have heard of him. I was unaware of the 6 ERA. I think this just happened just now.
Yeah, they just reported it.
Wow, dude. I mean, I guess that's cool. Maybe a little bit out of the bullpen. We can work with him, maybe.
And then what are your thoughts? Eric Hinsky stepping into the role of hitting coach for the New York Mets. Chavez to the bench. Or assistant hitting coach. I'm sorry, Jeremy Barnes will be the main hitting coach. But what's your thoughts there?
I mean, hey, I don't know much about him, if at all. But I mean, I do enjoy. I was gonna say I do enjoy Barnes, honestly. Jeremy Barnes is a hitting coach, so I feel like if he liked to
Who is he? I've never heard of him.
You never heard of him, dude?
Was he on the roster last year?
Yes.
Okay. What was it? Was he an assistant last year? Okay.
I think like I said, he's been with the organization. I think he knows the team, and I think for him to obviously pick this other guy to be his assistant. I mean, yeah, why not, dude? I think all the more power to him. So let's go. Let's hype up some hits, dude. I'm ready for some fucking dingers, dude.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Any thoughts? Michael had commented this earlier about Donovan Mitchell last night, 71 points.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. Michael did have that. I'll bring up the comment. Hold on. Wait. Gotta talk NBA, fellas. 71 could have been in a Knicks jersey, he says.
That's surprising out of Clay, because I feel like hasn't looked the same. Which one was more impressive in your eyes? Really? You've always been you want Clay on the Knicks, honestly. Do you want him on the Knicks, though? Old and injury prone? Yeah. Your mic, I don't.
There we go.
Do we have the fiddler over
Don't
there?
touch it,
Fiddler? No.
Oh.
Renee just messed it up, right?
No, it's good. It's good right now.
Now it's good.
It needs to be rerun, I think.
That's how it works. So that way we have to get a new cord.
Cable.
Why are you still talking?
Oh my gosh.
And I know, Michael, they don't offer do-overs here, but if you had to revisit it, would you have wanted Mitchell?
For Julius.
So you still you didn't want to give up Grimes for Mitchell? Like you don't wish you had him?
No, I do.
Okay. Yeah. Just because I just feel like anytime bringing a star.
Dude, I mean, look, 71. Imagine if that was in the Garden.
Yeah. It's tough. It's tough. And it's just, I just don't see where the pivot is. That's the thing. I mean, any, give me somebody. Give me somebody though. There's got to be somebody that's in your mind here, other than Bol.
No. That's all I want. The disrespect for Bol. I saw a video about how Wamba is the same thing as Bol. She likes his name. Is the same thing as Bol, but he's getting marketed. And
you're talking about the guy that's gonna be the number one pick?
Yeah.
Victor?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Wamba.
Victor. How are you?
It's just all politics.
That's tough though, man. But I guess, that's just the nature of the beast. And then also too, I have to give a shout out Luka. I mean, what a year he's having. He should win MVP. 39 points, 12 rebounds, 8 assists. Tony, you strike me as a big Luka guy.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like you look at him. I mean, someone who's, is 23, right?
I think he's 23.
And he's been in the league since he's 18.
4 or 5 years. 5 years, I think.
So, for him to come in with the splash and I think I saw some either tweet or quote from him where when he was coming out of the EuroLeague and he was talking about how easy it is to score in the NBA.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's like, here he is, dude, like kind of putting his money where his mouth is. I mean, you got to appreciate that, that level of, I guess, play that he has. And it's funny because you look at him and he doesn't really look athletic.
But you're right. The body type doesn't strike you as somebody that's very attentive to.
But then again, look at us, Brian.
Look at us, and then look at him though, just in terms of his production. And he just really reminds you of how Giannis is. That type of competitive mindset. But I'm gonna be interested to see, Tony, is like for the Mavs, to take the next step, win a title. Like, does he need someone else alongside with him?
I mean, it seems so, right? I mean, what else? Who else does Dallas really have who's good? Do they have Dinwiddie?
I think they do.
Right?
Come
on, dude.
But it's like they haven't been close. If you think about it. I mean, right now they are the 4th seed in the Western Conference, 22-16. But they are on a hot streak right now, actually. They have won, it looks like 7 games in a row.
You think Kevin Durant goes there?
I mean, looks like he's having a pretty good time in Brooklyn. Best record in the league, I think, or second best, whatever. Michael said this is the time now they're winning the championship. They found
Brooklyn.
They found the secret sauce.
Really, Michael?
A nod of approval.
Did you see Kyrie's put back dunk last night?
No.
I did.
Have you ever seen him do that in his career?
Me?
Yeah, but it's what I had to say, and I don't mean to downgrade the guy at all. But it's like, is it really going to be this smooth the rest of the year?
Yes.
We've never seen it, though.
It will.
He has not had a consistent run with nothing.
2016.
2016, 6 years ago.
Well,
But maybe.
666.
Like, do you think he's actually happy? Because he always seems like he's miserable. You know
No,
what I
he's
mean?
very happy right now.
Do you think this is a long-term thing? Like, they'll
The
work it
happiness?
out?
No,
Or
win the
you think still after
championship,
the year,
retire, go on a
you think
huge.
he's going to retire?
Yes, some crazy thing like that.
Wow.
So then he can say whatever he wants.
And yeah, Tony, to answer your question too, Dinwiddie is on the Mavs, and I was actually just going to ask you, Michael.
Wow, look what I know.
Second leader scorer right now, Christian Wood, 17.8 points a game. Mavericks to win a title. Does Luka need help?
Does? Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course he needs help, dude.
So, and do you
What's the
think
record? They're barely above 500.
6 games over, 4th seed in the West, that whole deal. But you don't think like
he could just do it by himself?
we've seen it. I mean, not often, but we have seen where one guy.
No.
Is it one guy that they need, or do you think it's multiple guys?
One.
Who? Anybody come to mind?
Like a Bradley Beal.
Yeah.
Would be nice.
Wow, that would be crazy. I think. Yeah, that would.
They'd be really good together.
That is fascinating to see, and I feel like too, because I've been turned off by the NBA, but Luka going on.
I was gonna say last night was cool.
Yeah,
A lot
last
of
night was
stuff
cool.
happened.
And I would be excited to see Luka make a final. Just get on the precipice of winning his first title. He deserves it. He's a hard worker. Well, Nets and Mavs, that would be interesting. But the thing is, right now, it's crazy. New Orleans, 23-14. Memphis ahead of them. Nuggets to me feel like frauds, even though they have a really good record. But I could see, Memphis and Dallas, Western Conference final, that would be 7-game epic series, kind of like a Lillard for the series way back when.
Lillard to the Knicks.
Lillard to the lottery, or I thought you said you don't want Lillard.
No, I was just being a jackass.
Oh man. But yeah, I mean that's really what we have. Anything else in your mind, Tony, as we come to a
The
close
Knicks
here?
actually beat Phoenix by like 30.
There you go. That's something.
Trade Randall.
We do have an episode of Screen Time coming up tonight, 7 p.m., dude.
What's the subject matter?
The subject matter is what we're most looking forward to in 2023.
Wow.
So we're going over all the hot new releases, television, film. Jay will be in studio, possibly Manny as well.
There you go.
But it's gonna be a nice late night episode here.
So maybe
at
after
Downtown TV
dinner,
Studios.
during dinner, catch the episode.
7 o'clock. I mean, I feel like if you're like normal dinner times like 6:30, right?
Yeah.
So half hour for dinner. Maybe you crank it on at the end of dinner, while you're having a cup of coffee.
Or cappuccino.
Or cappuccino, as Brian would love to have right now.
Yeah.
A couple of Christmas cookies that are left over.
Maybe sprinkle a little Baileys in there.
Baileys in the coffee. You watch Screen Time. Have a great.
Baileys really is so good.
Baileys is really good, dude.
Yeah.
You put Baileys in your espresso martinis?
Yeah.
Really?
'Cause I always am confused by that. Like, so if you say no, like, what are they substituting it with? They're like, can I get an espresso martini? Oh, that's what that's.
No. There's just nothing.
There's just more espresso in it.
But
Yeah.
That is not true.
But
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
They don't put Kahlua.
They don't
They don't put Kahlua in there.
It would
It's
just
just
be
espresso and the freaking
Liqueur?
Vodka
liqueur
and
and vodka.
No, it's not.
Wow. We might have to do some investigating on this. Renee,
Well,
very
that's gonna die.
animated regarding this. And I have to say, I thought I would be more on top of it, but it's always kind of confused me a little bit just in terms of, when I'm asked that question. Tony looks like he's on it. He's a little confused. Eyes are squinting.
Yeah, well, I'm reading. The screen is small. I'm not used to Renee's laptop. She's not listening anymore.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Watch screen time,
laptop
7
is about
o'clock.
to die.
Yeah. And maybe tomorrow we'll have to have a follow-up on the mystery of the espresso martini, Tony. How does that sound?
That does sound good. I'm reading the history right now. It debuted in the 1980s.
1980.
That's like honestly not as old as I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Right? 1980s? What were you guys doing before 1980?
Yeah, exactly. So interesting stuff. That is for sure. But
This one has 2 ounces vodka, ½ ounce coffee liqueur, 1 ounce espresso, ½ ounce simple syrup, garnished with coffee beans.
But
So
Tony,
wait, were we right?
I mean, because you look up another recipe, and this recipe calls for Kahlua, but then I guess it kind of depends. It's there's many different variations.
variations in
All
the
I'll say is that Little Goose, they put Kahlua in the ones that are not with Bailey's. Because I've gotten it.
Interesting. I could see it though.
I
As
can
a
see it too.
substitute. But I really want another pistachio espresso martini. That was amazing, Tony. Oh.
I never,
You know what I mean?
I've never had one.
But you just are giving me the not allowed.
I've had a
face.
rice pudding martini before.
That sounds disgusting.
It kind of wasn't. I don't like rice pudding, so
Yeah, rice pudding's beat.
rice pudding sucks, dude. Fucking tapioca. Ugh.
But Tony, I know I say it all the time,
Are you
but
getting out of here?
what a day.
What a show.
What a life. Really appreciate everybody tuning in and continuing to comment, like, and subscribe, as well as checking out, the archives on the YouTube page, Tony, Michael, Renee in costume. And, we want everybody to enjoy their day, enjoy screen time later, enjoy the games, and we will see you mañana.
Go Rangers.
Hey guys, Tony here from Downtime TV checking in. I want to thank all our fans out there who's been liking, subscribing, sharing our content. You guys are the best. You guys are our bloodline. You make us love what we do. Thanks again.